Required skills and capabilities to collect debt using the phone. The first one, hang on, I have this chat window in front of me, so it's blocking my view. Okay, understand the elements of successful telephone communication and improve skills in this area. Can anyone tell me what sub skills or what skills in telephone communication are we talking about? Can anyone tell me? Once again, you can type in Zoom chat, or you can of course unmute and tell me. What are these skills that we are talking about? What do we need to know? What do we need to learn in terms of the skills, in terms of how we communicate? What are some of the things that are important for us? Can anybody tell me? Okay, Mr. Rusli says using the correct tone and words. That's absolutely correct, definitely, because through your tone and also your words, you are actually going to try to get the customer to understand that you actually care about them. You're not just here to collect the money, you're also here to understand what they are going through. So definitely, yes, patience, courage to call and follow up. Azizal said, courage to call and follow up. Primala says, be patient, deliver the right message. Yes, Azrul. Okay, yes, these are definitely, these are very logical. You know, if you have been making phone calls and talking to customers already, and if you've had some pitfalls or challenges, you already know that, you know, maybe I need to talk in the right tone. Maybe I need to, you know, say the right things. Maybe I need to be patient when everybody keeps telling me, you know, we don't have the budget yet. Oh, the check is still in the process. When people keep saying that to delay your payments, we have to have the patience. Yes, in terms of Azrul Hakim, deliver right message on delivering the right message, saying the right thing, asking the right questions, telling them the right reasons why they should pay, the right message. I mean, what if the debt is a bit longer, you know, like in arrears longer, maybe more than 2 months or whatever, then of course our message also changes, our voice also changes. So we need to definitely be able to deliver the right message. Sure. Okay. You guys have given me a very good set of skills that we require to start with, and I'm appreciative of that. Thank you so much. Let's move forward. Is structure your collection call more effectively. Okay, structuring collection calls more effectively basically means that we would, when we make the phone call, we don't sound rude, or we don't sound like all we care about is money. So that means that right in the beginning of the phone call, we are not going to tell them, when are you going to pay? Your payment is overdue. When are you going to pay? That is not a good structure right in the beginning of the phone call. There we go step by step. We start in the beginning with some nice things, and then we move on and go on step by step in the form of a flow, a structure, which asks us to be nice in the beginning, explain to them why they should pay. If they are adamant or if they start giving excuses, be able to handle those excuses. Then we move forward into negotiating a payment arrangement, simply because, especially nowadays, the times are bad. So it's quite possible that you might not be able to convince them to pay you your full amount, whatever the full amount is due. So maybe you might need to even do a little bit of negotiation, maybe give them some discounts and all that. So that negotiation happens, then confirming the negotiated amounts, and then ending the call. So it's actually a structure. If we follow a structure, all of our debt collection calls then start resembling each other. They start looking similar. And when you do the same thing, the right thing in every phone call, your collection numbers automatically increase. Okay, Azrul says the same question and step when we start phone call. Right, the same question and step. Yes, each time. I guess what you're probably trying to say is that we need to use the same structure during each phone call. Okay, let's move forward a little bit more. Improve questioning and listening skills. A lot of my debt collector friends, because I've been conducting debt collection training for almost, shall we say, about 20 plus years. And I remember my very first debt collection client was Eon Bank, many years ago. I've had a lot of this experience, and what normally does happen is that our collectors will make the phone call as a statement. Uh, Hi, I'm calling from X whatever company. Your overdue amount is this. The payment is due this Friday. Uh, when can you pay? So this is basically how the most of those debt collection calls were happening. Of course, when I came in, I saw this was happening in such huge, large organizations, and they're so well respected. But the dealing with the customers was a little bit outla, should I say? So then I started teaching them how to ask people the right questions to get them to talk, how to create the right pictures in their mind. Like, we need to motivate them to pay. Motivation doesn't always mean negative motivation. If you don't pay, this can happen. Of course, we do that, but for cases which are a little bit more, tough. But these improving the questions that I'm talking about are actually empathic questions. In other words, we try to think about what a person who owes us money, what's going through their mind. We think about that, and then we create questions according to that, and we ask them. Let's say that suppose times are bad, so customers are going through this issue. Not only us, but a lot of other service providers are also banging on their door asking for their payment. So now we actually need to understand that we are not the only ones calling them and collecting our money. Many others are doing the same thing, especially nowadays. So instead of saying this is how much you owe, when can you pay, if you don't pay, this will happen, that will happen. Instead of saying that, why don't we ask them questions? Hi, I'm so and so, my name is Sharo. I understand that your overdue amount is X thousand or X $100 ringgit. You've been normally quite you have been quite regular in your payments. I'm a little bit worried about your current situation. Is everything okay? So what I'm doing is I'm telling them I care, and I'm telling them that I value you as our customer, and at the same time I'm telling them I'm worried about you because you have been good in payments before. So ultimately, yes, we have already told them that we are calling to collect the debt, but in such a way that makes them want to talk. It's just like if I owe somebody money, and if they keep saying, hey, when are you going to pay me? When are you going to pay me? So when they do that, I will start giving, if I don't have the money, I will give them excuses. But if they say, hey, Shahrukh, last time you borrowed money from me, but you paid me back, on time. What happened this time? Is everything okay? When he asks me in that way, I feel like opening up and telling him the reason why I'm not able to pay. Maybe my salary is late, maybe my payment, whatever the reason is. When you talk to your customers like that, show them that you care, they will actually open up. That will happen when we have empathy with them, putting ourselves in their shoes, trying to enter their brain and understanding what they are thinking. Only then we can ask them the right questions. And of course, listening skills. Customers will say all kinds of different things, and we need to understand. A lot of people listen while they're listening. They're actually already preparing answers in their mind. And this happens a lot. Everybody does that. I also do that, sometimes. Somebody's trying to tell me a story, give me an explanation, but something came to my mind, and now I cannot wait until this guy shuts up so that I can start talking. So when that happens, I'm actually not really hearing listening what the customer is saying. So improving our questioning. These are empathic questions. I'm going to type here in the chat here. Empathic questions. Questions that tell the customer that I understand what you're going through, but let me ask you this. Or I understand what the market conditions are. Are you also going through that? Or I understand that you are probably bombarded with a lot of different vendors or service providers calling to collect debt. I can understand that. And, I hope things get better. Let's see how we can come up with some kind of an agreement that you can, you can pay us also, and at the same time maybe pay some of the other ones. We just need to figure out how to negotiate that kind of an arrangement. So what that does is we ask them the right question, we tell them we care, and then when they give us the answer, we start listening to understand. Listening to understand instead of listening to answer. Because most people do that, listening to answer. A lot of times if you see two people fighting, nobody's really listening to each other. Everybody's talking. The two of them who are fighting, they're not listening. One guy says, hey, I came to your house, I rang the bell at 7 a.m. and you didn't answer, that's why I went back. The guy is saying, I waited for you so long, you didn't come. So one guy shouting that, the other guy shouting that, nobody listening to each other, so the fight continues. That is something we need to avoid, because we are professionals and we are calling our customers to get payments on our invoices, because we want to also keep them as our customers for a long time. So these structuring the call effectively, understanding the skills, the communication skills that are required, improving our empathic questions and listening to understand. These are actually really the keys to collecting debt at a level that your company requires. Maybe, it's some companies have debt collection targets also. So maybe you have them, maybe you don't. But these are the ways. Now, identify, if you look at the next one I just opened up, identify a customer's real situation and match your offer accordingly. Suppose your customer owes you 5,000 ringgit this month's payment, or maybe overdue to last month's payment together. So 5,000 ringgit. If you can listen to them to understand what they are saying, there instead of losing that customer and just hanging up the phone because they cannot pay the full amount, you can simply go according to their situation. If they are saying that, hey, listen, I cannot pay all 5,000 right now, are you going to lose the amount that they can pay? So we actually need to go according to the customer's real situation. And how we do that is by asking them the right questions, empathic questions, creating pictures in their minds. I'll be showing you that in the next few slides as to what kind of pictures we need to create in their minds, and what to say or how to ask those questions so that they can start thinking in terms of that. It's just basically convincing them, motivating them to pay our debt. Okay, we cannot be aggressive. Aggressive basically means changing the tone of voice in such a way that you start sounding like, if you don't do this, we will, like that. We will tell them the consequences of not paying. That we will do in an assertive manner. In other words, let's say you need to send a lawyer's letter. If they are, let's say, 2-3 months overdue and you still no word from them, so we want to be assertive. We will tell them, sir, your account is already 3 months overdue, and with due apologies, the finance department is now communicating with our legal department, and they are preparing a letter for you to receive. And that letter will probably tell you, maybe you need to show up in court, or you need to just pay. They'll probably give you a deadline. So what are we doing? We are in a very nice, assertive manner telling them what's going to happen, but we are not aggressive with our tone of voice. There is no point in being aggressive with customers simply because, hey, they've been our customers for a long time. This is a bad time. If they are having a problem, we negotiate a payment arrangement with them, and we don't lose them as customers. So that's the reason why. So the difference between aggressive, submissive, and assertive is aggressive. You already know now, very forceful, very, sometimes the tone, is rude. The pitch of our voice is quite high, like that. So that's aggressive. So it's like, it almost sounds like two people are fighting. Submissive is like, if like a boss, a secretary, how she deals with her boss. A boss says, I need this letter by 3 p.m. She's like, okay, sure. Just always agreeing to things. That would be submissive. Assertive is like asking somebody to do something in a firm, confident tone of voice, and not sounding like If you don't do this, this will happen. Not like that, not sounding like that, not sounding angry or upset. Just like, like when a boss asks his secretary to type a letter for him, he will normally say, I need this letter typed by 3 p.m. That's our deadline. Thank you. So what did he do? He used an assertive tone of voice and letting the secretary know that the deadline for the letter is 3 p.m. Now, if he wanted to be aggressive, he would have a different tone. Hey, I need this letter by 3 p.m. If you don't have the letter by 3 p.m., I'm going to give you your first warning. So that would be aggressive. And submissive would be, hey, if you can please try to have the letter with me by 3 p.m., I would really appreciate it. That's submissive. So, sir, if you can please make the payment by this month, we would really appreciate it. That we don't want that. We want an assertive tone of voice in which the customer understands that logically they actually owe the money, and the person who is asking for it is not rude and is nice enough to speak in a voice that is very professional and logical. So that's what the assertiveness is all about. And when you make these phone calls, this is what I would ask everyone to do, is to have this assertive tone of voice. Of course, when we deal with voice later on today, I will of course demonstrate what an assertive voice sounds like. I already did that as the boss dealing with the secretary. Okay, the next skill is be prepared for and handle those excuses. I remember that this morning when I asked everybody, what challenges, so a lot of you were telling me about the excuses that you deal with. So if you want to be, one of the required skills and capabilities to collect debt is to be able to deal with those excuses. In other words, you should actually have answers or responses already prepared for at least the general excuses that you've been getting for a long time. So we're going to do that when we develop the dialogue for your calls, the tomorrow's session. We are actually going to make a list of all the excuses that your customers give you, and then we are going to try to come up with things to say in order to, as a response to those excuses. If times are bad, what to do? If the check is still in process, what to say? That kind of thing. So those are basically excuses that we need to know how to handle. Then build better relationships with customers using empathy. I already mentioned that, we need to put ourselves in the customer's shoes, our customer's environment. We need to try to think like the customer, because he or she is receiving a phone call from you and you are asking for money. So if you were receiving a phone call and somebody asking for money, how would you feel? If you are telling them you will not be able to pay on time, what are you going through? What reasons are there that you are not going to be able to pay on time? All of that is what the customer is going through who's not able to pay. So we need to understand those actual reasons. We need to understand their environment. We need to understand the challenges they are facing. So that has to do with empathy. And also empathy is to let them know how they would feel if they are debt free. In other words, trying to tell them that, if you are debt free, you have all kinds of, we will not be blocking your service, or of course, those are things, the akibat, the consequences that your customers actually have to go through if you block their service or something like that. So those are different things that we need to understand how the customer feels at this particular moment. And then we will just deal with it accordingly in terms of using our skill or power of empathy, putting ourselves in their shoes, getting our brain to enter their brain, and then understand what they're thinking, and then act accordingly. Empty promises. I'm sure if you've been collecting debt for a while, you already know that the customer says, hey, I will pay you next month, next week, and then that next week never comes. So next week when you follow up, they say, sorry, I forgot, I will pay next week. So that is an empty promise. A lot of my clients that normally that I train, this is one of the biggest issues that they have, is empty promises. So customers will say, I'll pay next week, like I mentioned. So how to create a situation during your phone call, how to talk or negotiate in such a way that we reduce the number of empty promises. So with that actually means, that's why I typed there, have a plan. We need to be prepared, just like we're going to be prepared for excuses. We also need to be prepared for these promises that will not actually happen. If somebody says, right in the beginning of the phone call, you tell them how's everything and all that, and then they start saying, oh, I know la, your payment la, okay, yeah, I forgot, sorry, I'll pay tomorrow. And then they want to hang up the phone. So that is actually an empty promise. How do we deal with that? Of course, we have a total of 7 hours together. So we will be coming up with ways to deal with these empty promises, definitely. So then use your words and voice in a way that creates pictures in people's minds. This is the #1 skill to convince people to pay. When I conduct sales training, I also use the same process, asking you to create pictures in people's minds. Positive pictures and worrisome pictures. In other words, if I am trying to create positive pictures in somebody's mind who owes me money, I will say, imagine how you will feel when you no longer owe anybody money. You wake up in the morning, you feel so fresh, right? You can even go to the bank, your credit is good because you're a good paymaster. You can finance anything you want, all of that kind of thing. So I'm creating a positive picture in somebody's mind. If I want to create a negative picture in somebody's mind, all the consequences of non-payment, those we then turn into pictures through our words and phrases, and then we tell the customer. Like, let's say, for example, if since your account is 2 months in arrears, if the payment is not received by next month, then our system will automatically block your pickup. And of course, we don't have control over that. The system will do that. And we don't want that hassle for you, simply because of the fact that your warehouse, or sorry, your environment will become very cluttered because of the waste. There will be a lot of smell. What are we doing? We're trying to create that picture that don't stop paying us, because we are regularly picking up your dirt. And if you don't do that, the picture of non-payment is, you walk into a smelly office, you look around and there will be dump all over the place, and you want to avoid that. So that's just basically just one of the ways that we talk to our customers to create that negative picture in their mind. Positive picture, imagine how you would feel when you don't owe any money. Negative picture, look at what's going to happen if you don't pay. But we don't just say, we will send you a lawyer letter, you need to appear in court. These are not good, solid pictures to create. If you want to tell somebody, we will send you a lawyer letter, you will have to say, when people receive lawyer letters, then just very tension. Because, then of course, once you have the letter, you have to somehow either pay or appear in court and all that. So what are we doing? We are not just saying you will receive the letter, we are saying what you will feel when you receive the letter. So it's all about emotional persuasion, emotionally convincing people to pay. So we must remember the key, most important thing is to create positive pictures and worrisome pictures. Worrisome basically means negative, something that they have to worry about. Create positive and worrisome pictures in their mind in order to convince them or motivate them. So when we create those pictures, only then we can talk about later on negotiating a payment arrangement.